You lose someone, and for weeks, your body forgets they're gone. You reach for your phone to text them. You hear a sound and think, that's them at the door. Your mind runs the old patterns long after the person who built them is gone. It feels like malfunction. It feels like your brain is broken. But it isn't broken. It's ancient. What you're feeling right now was carved into the human brain over hundreds of thousands of years. And it happened for a reason so strange that most people never learn it. Your grief is not a bug in your biology. It is one of the oldest survival systems your species ever built. Here is what actually happened. For most of human history, losing someone wasn't just emotional. It was physically catastrophic. A parent, a hunting partner, a person who shared your fire. When they died, you didn't just lose a relationship. You lost calories, protection, information, and often your ability to survive the next season. So evolution did something ruthless. It made losing a person feel unbearable on purpose. Anthropologist Ashley Montagu once described grief as a kind of forced pause, a signal so loud it interrupts every other function in the body. Not comfort, not sentiment, interruption. Your ancestors needed to stop, reassess, and rebuild their survival network immediately. Pain was the mechanism that made sure they did. Think about what grief actually does to a person. It shuts down appetite. It disrupts sleep. It floods the body with cortisol. Why would evolution build something so disruptive into an animal that needed to hunt, gather, and stay alert to predators? Because the disruption was the point. Grief forces total behavioral reorganization. It makes you renegotiate your entire social world, whether you want to or not. Researcher John Archer, who spent decades studying the biology of loss, argued that grief evolved from attachment systems that predate humans entirely. The same neural circuitry that makes an infant scream when separated from its mother is the circuitry that activates when you lose someone as an adult. It's not metaphorical. It's the same system, just aimed at a different kind of separation. Your brain, in other words, is treating adult loss like infant abandonment. That's why it feels like panic, not just sadness. Have you ever noticed that grief comes in waves instead of a straight line? That's not randomness either. Psychologist George Bonanos spent years studying how people actually grieve, not how movies say they grieve. His research found something almost nobody expects. Most people are not shattered by loss in the way we assume. Most people show what he called resilience, oscillating in and out of distress, functioning one moment, breaking down the next. This oscillation isn't weakness, it's an ancient rhythm. Feel the loss intensely. Pull back. Function. Feel it again. Why would a brain need to alternate like that instead of just processing grief in one continuous wave? Because your ancestors couldn't afford to stay broken for long. A person paralyzed by sorrow for weeks in a small foraging band was a person who couldn't gather food, defend the group, or care for children. Grief needed to be powerful enough to force reorganization, but not so powerful that it ended the griever too. So the brain built an oscillation switch. Enough pain to demand change. Enough recovery to keep the person alive long enough to make it. This is why you can be laughing with friends one night and crying alone in your car the next morning. You're not unstable. You're running code that kept small human groups alive for hundreds of thousands of years. There's something else grief does that feels almost supernatural. It makes you see the person everywhere. A shape in the crowd. A voice on the street. A smell that isn't there anymore, but somehow is. This isn't your imagination failing you. It's your predictive brain doing exactly what it evolved to do. Your brain runs on prediction. It constantly forecasts what it expects to encounter based on the patterns of your life. For years, one of those patterns included a specific person. Their footsteps, their laugh, their particular way of walking into a room. When that person is suddenly deleted from reality, the prediction engine doesn't update instantly. It keeps generating their presence out of habit, because habit is faster than grief. So your brain hallucinates them, gently, in fragments, until the pattern finally erodes. Isn't it strange that the last thing to accept a death is the very organ that has to process it? There's a modern mirror to all of this, and it might be the strangest part of the story. You now live in a world where loss doesn't have to be permanent, at least not digitally. old messages, photos, voice notes, videos. The person is gone, but their data isn't. You can, in a very real sense, keep the prediction engine fed forever, scrolling through evidence that contradicts what your body already knows.